Sports fans, welcome on in. It's the Down and Dirty. Scott Mitchell here. So glad you could join us. It's Thursday. Oh, we love Thursday. If we're not being completely, well, we're always candid on the show. It's the Down and Dirty. That's the way we roll. We love every day, but this is always a special day. We get to join with none other than the zone coach, Jim Fannin. Been doing it for a long time with some of the best in the world. And we are so fortunate to have him join the show. He's with us right now. Jim, all the way from Chicago, how are you? What's going on today?
I'm ready to get down and dirty.
Ooh, I love it. Okay, this is one of my favorite weeks of the year. There's so much about the Masters. It just signifies so many different things. The visual of Augusta National, watching it on television, the sounds, the voice of Jim Nantz, the tradition like none other. And it's starting, and of course it's going on right now. Ceremonial, first tee. Of course, I have mixed emotions about this, and I'm curious your thoughts on it. You have all these legends, Jack Nicklaus, Gary Player, Tom Watson. They're the the changing of the guard, or they're the ones. It's their time. It's their responsibility to be the ceremonial starters, and I'm torn from. It's a great honor, but it also means you're old and you're not any good anymore. And so your next move is the grave. How do you take being a ceremonial starter at the Masters?
You're brutal today. You're really, really brutal. I've been to 35 Masters, and I've seen that ceremonial start. Yeah. And it's got to stay. Come on, it's tradition. And you get to see Jack. He'll take a ceremonial swing, but he's not going to play the round. Right. And so I think it's a great thing. It's ceremonial. The one thing I love about the Masters, it's the most knowledgeable sports crowd in sports. I mean, when you're there, it's a religious experience for a golfer, and you make your trek there. So you want to see all the stars. You want to see Jack. You want to see Gary Player. You want to see the old guys. You want to see Freddie. Freddie said, "I'm in it to win it."
Yeah.
He just recently said that, and I'm like, "You go, Freddie." He goes, "No, I'm ready," and I think he will. He'll do pretty well. Hopefully, he makes the cut. But every single hole is a challenge. There's no gimmies, and the first hole says, "Welcome to Augusta." That first hole, you hit it up the hill, then you have an iron onto the green, and the first green is like putting on the hood of a Buick that just got waxed. And if it's not in the middle, it's going to go off, and it's terrifying. It really is, that because it's a wake-up call right off the bat. You want to get through the first hole par, thank you very much, and off you go. But every hole is potential disaster for you. That's what I love about it. No hole off.
Yeah, it's so fun to watch, and you talk about the players that are there and get to come back, the past champions forever, and it's always this fine line between how long do you play if you're Fred Couples? How many, at what point do you just say, I'm out, I'm done? But there's another thing that to me it kind of signifies the Masters is it's kind of a who's who of people show up at the Masters, and they're just there like everyone, like it's, we don't care how important you are. You're like all the other patrons here, and people act that way. There's not this they're like, oh yeah, that's like the most famous person in the world walking by me right now, and it's just like, yeah, we're all here. This is the Masters, though. It's treated differently. To me, that tells me, I think, what the Masters actually is.
I've eaten so many white bread pimento cheese sandwiches for $1.50. That was 30, 40 years ago. It's still $1.50. I'm not going to tell you how many I've eaten, but when I've gone back, I've tried to break my own record.
Wow.
But you're right. it's very knowledgeable. So the emphasis on the tradition. Gene Saracen did this on this shot. On
Yeah.
everybody knows the history of it. That's what makes it so special. And there's no running. There's no
Right. Yeah.
skipping. You can't even lay down on the grass. I laid down. I trekked about 36 holes from the very mornings now in the afternoon, and I just kind of just laid down just for no. There's no. You can't lay down at the Masters. Get up. What are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a beautiful thing. Uh, this wasn't something I was going to talk about, but you brought up, everyone knows the shots. Gene Saracen did this. This is Eisenhower's tree. This is all the things. And I can't help but think of Jordan Spieth. And Jordan was really one of the hot golfers in all of golf, and won the Masters. I believe he's won it 2 times now. And it looked like he was on his way, and he got to 12. And he just hit it a little. He flared it out just a little bit. It caught the bank, went into the water, and then he kind of chunked the next shot, and it was over. And it hasn't been back. It feels like that moment at the Masters almost wrecked Jordan Spieth, and you see other guys like Greg Norman, where Larry Mize chips it, and he has, just like on, I think it was on 11, which is a tough hole, but is that really a thing? With Jordan, is it, I mean, can losing the Masters in that fashion be something that guys just don't recover from?
In every sport, really. I mean, you get that image of you failing, and of course you're trying to put a new image, but you put the brakes on, you overthink, you try too hard. If you try too hard at the Masters, you're going to be gone on Friday afternoon. The zone comes to you at the Masters. You must be very patient, and your breathing rate per minute must not change for 1 through 18. And I think the key too is after 12 holes, you got to be a closer at the Masters, but that means, I'm not going to birdie out. That means I'm not going to give anything back. That's the key at the Masters. After 12, you can't give a shot back.
Yeah.
So you want to par out, go for it. And I've been in that situation coaching Luke Donald there, where we need to really not just par out on the last 6. And he got himself into a zone state. We finished 3rd behind DeMarco and Tiger Woods that one year I'm talking about. But it's formidable, and you have to let it go. Next is your battle cry. If you get into the past at the Masters, you'll be home watching it on the weekend.
When you coach someone in the Masters, how do you do it? Like, do you have like little signals? Like you're in this, you're walking, along the side outside the ropes, because you can't be inside the ropes. Do you give them like the nose means you're breathing too hard? A little ear grab here means hey, your jaws. I mean, do you get to coach guys like that? Do you have? Or how is the preparation? How does everything? How do you coach someone so that they can, in the moment, make the adjustments or whatever? How does that work?
That's a great question. I've been able to do that in tennis, giving signals. I was like a third base coach in tennis, and I could give the signals and what to do. I'll give you an example. I'm coaching. I'll just reveal it. I'm coaching Charles Howell III, and we had a session the week before, and I said, sometimes you just got to skip. He goes, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Can you skip?" He goes, "What do you mean, can I skip?" I said, "Skip with me. This is in practice." And he goes, "You're nuts." I said, "Come on, skip with me." So he skips and he starts laughing. I said, "I'm telling you, sometimes you need to skip. It'll make you laugh. That'll put some dopamine into the bloodstream. That might be the missing ingredient in the score system, the system that we have for 50 years to track the zone." So that was it. So now here we are, first round in the Masters, and he's not doing well. So I skipped about 3 or 4 yards, and he looked at me like, Seriously, seriously. You want,
Uh,
and I'm just saying, skip, skip. So he reluctantly skips. He starts laughing, going, "You're an idiot. You're nuts. I can't believe I'm skipping." We birdied 3 holes in a row just by skipping. So sometimes, yeah, Jim's got a few tools and techniques. They take less than 90 seconds. Some only take 5 seconds. We've got more tools to be in the zone than Home Depot. So, yeah, sometimes I have to slide a few through the ropes.
yeah, I can just see the like one of those social media videos. Here's your golf tip of the day. You want to birdie holes? Skip.
Sometimes you got to
Yeah,
skip.
I love it. Tiger Woods, of course, he's not going to be at the Masters. Phil Mickelson, not at the Masters. And what does that mean for the Masters? What does it mean for? Does it even matter? Do they? What does Tiger's absence mean?
I think it means a real formal changing of the guard. Jack Nicholas, Gary Player, uh, the Arnie. Okay, they defer now to the younger Mickelson,
Yeah,
Tiger, and who's going to take the mantle after that? With Tiger not there, with Phil not there, it's a definite changing of the guard with Scotty, DeChambeau, and other guys, John Rahm at the top. So I think it's almost a formal, to me at least, a changing of the guard.
yeah.
It's the new era is here, and we're not going back. We're not going back to Phil. Phil's not going to do what Nicholas did in '85. I was there when Nicholas won. That was insane. People
Mm.
were mental following him as he's making the charge to win the Masters at, I think it was 42, maybe. Don't hold me on the date, but yeah, it's a changing of the guard. It's a new group of sheriffs that are going to patrol Augusta National.
Yeah. So speaking of Bryson DeChambeau, he used
A
a
3D
3D
printer.
printer and made a golf club. Like, first of all, is that even legal to do? And like, when you coach players and equipment and things, how I guess how do you use equipment in a way to get a guy in the zone or to is it does it have any relevance? Does it matter? Do you
It,
talk through stuff like that?
I'm talking to all you golfers. When you get that new driver, it's like, I'm hitting at 300. I know you're only 240, but this is huge. This is big. A new driver, new whatever's new, you feel it just gives you some dopamine. You feel good about it. But a poor craftsman blames his work on his tools. I learned that the hard way coming up in junior tennis.
Yeah.
And the tools don't matter. It's your mindset that operates the tools of the trade, which would be your 14 clubs in your bag. And a poor craftsman will blame his results on his tools. And that's a loser mindset. The 3D printer, though, that's new. I got my 7-year-old grandson a 3D printer. That's what he wanted for Christmas. And I'm like, what is that? And he's making all kinds of little stuff, but I can't even fathom making a club. But I guess it's legal. The dimensions are correct, but it's pretty amazing with the 3D printer that you can actually do that. Yeah, he's the mad scientist. He's going to tinker. If anybody's going to come up with it on the tour, it'd be DeChambeau. He's trying all kinds of stuff, techniques, pushing the envelope. I had long talks with him right before he won the NCAA, and I knew he was that mad scientist always pushing the
Yeah.
envelope. So obviously he's a contender with the 3D printer club, which is pretty amazing.
I think I was thinking about as a football player and like my equipment, where I have a helmet, I have shoulder pads, that's pretty much it. You have footballs, and there was a process of getting the footballs just right, so there was massaging them, put them in a dryer, they rubbed them down. There were all kinds of things to get them right, but there was also this like where you wore sweatbands, how many towels you had, there was a function to it because it was about moisture and it was about really keeping the moisture off of your hands. But there was also this like weight, like there's a weight to a sweatband. And so, what weight do you have on your throwing arm? How do your shoulder pads fit? Where do they go over your shoulder? And you're so locked into the minutest of details, right? When you're like you can tell. And one of the biggest adjustments for me every year was my helmet. And because actually when you put a helmet on in the beginning, there's a process of kind of wearing it in and breaking it in like a new baseball mitt, and you just kind of have to get the padding in the helmet where it's just non-existent. And so for me it was having equipment get to a place where it's like you didn't even have equipment on. But there were things that like they really were physiological things that if it wasn't right, it felt funny, and you had to figure out how to adjust that. Once you did it, you didn't mess with it. You just kept it. It's just like this is how it is. But and so when he was saying that, I was just thinking kind of about equipment for me, and just and it's that thing of just getting it to where it's just one of those kind of influences that you just want to be you want it to be a no-brainer, a no contest, a non-issue type of thing. But you had to get it to that point. And literally the first 2 or 3 days of training camp, you're just like, oh, this helmet just hurts like heck, and then you just wear it in and it just goes away, and you don't think about it anymore. So
The key, Scott, is when you're in a zone state, your energy flows away from you. And as a quarterback, your energy's on the other side of the scrimmage line. So
yeah.
you're all your energy's there. You're keying off maybe the middle linebacker to give you a tip on what progressions you may have. But once that energy backs up on equipment, the other thing new about the helmet is the communication system.
Yeah.
And that can go crazy. I was coaching one quarterback, and it was like real, what?
Yeah.
And the communication was poor. But when that happens, your energy's on you.
Yep.
When your energy's on you, it'll back up like a toilet. It normally goes into your jaw. You tense it up, and then all of a sudden you speed things up. Now you're not in the zone, and you could definitely be in a panic situation as a quarterback, or off the tee at Augusta, or playing tennis, or in the NBA in the playoffs.
See,
you away from you.
I used the helmet communication to my advantage, because it does go out, and it did go out, and you had contingencies for what if it goes out, and coaches were like, well, you might have to call your own play, and it's like, well, I did that when I first got in the NFL. That's great, and so sometimes I if I go, I want to run this play right here, and I just call the play, and they go, hey, what happened on that play? It's like, oh, the helmet system went out, so you could kind of use it to your advantage if you wanted to call a certain play. But you talk about this energy. I just want to share this with, because I think it's fascinating, and it's fascinating because I experienced it, but and I know you'll appreciate it. You talk about your energy being on the other side of the line of scrimmage. In the first game I played in the NFL, and I was actually giving a speech earlier this week, and I actually talked about that moment, because it was a moment that was one of the most iconic, memorable, and meaningful moments of my life. And it was just it was one moment in a game of 75 plays, and it was this simple. We were playing the Cleveland Browns. Dan Marino got hurt. I'm in the game. It's midway through the third quarter, and we're on a roll. And like I'm in the zone, like no doubt about it. First game playing in the NFL, and we broke the huddle, and I'm approaching the line of scrimmage, and I'm looking at the Cleveland Browns defense. Now, when you're a fan and you look at a game, you look at it from the side, right? So you're seeing a kind of a bird's eye view of both sides of the ball. But when you're playing on the field, your view is of the other team. Like just like we're looking right at each other, that's what you see. You see the other, you look right in their eyes. You know, you see all of them, and a lot of times you go. One of my thoughts was like, they're not really that big. Like these guys are. That was one of my first thoughts. But the thought I had in this moment was, I own the Cleveland Browns. Like I looked in all of their eyes, and you talk about, you're when it's away from you and it's on the other side of the ball, and I knew it and they knew it. Like it was like, who in the heck is this guy? In fact, the next year, so I signed as a free agent with the Detroit Lions, and the next season I'm in Detroit, and we signed another linebacker, Mike Johnson, who was with the Cleveland Browns. And the first conversation Mike and I had, he goes, "Who in the world were you?" He's like, he goes, "There was a play, and you were scrambling, and you faked me, and I jumped 12 feet in the air." And he goes, "And I knew you weren't gonna. I knew you were faking me out. Like the rule is you don't leave your feet when the quarterback pump fakes. Like stay on the ground." And he goes, like I believed to my soul that you were throwing that football, and you sidestepped me and ran, and rushed for it. And we had no answer. He goes, we had no answer for you. Like we were blown away by you. And so when you talk about, the impact and the power of the zone and how what it does to you as an individual, but what it does to other people as well, is just it is
It
one of the most special things you can experience as a human.
it's special in every sport, and I will tell you, when the energy starts to come back on you, and it's
Yeah.
being pushed on you from the other side,
Yeah.
it's palpable,
Yeah.
and it can be a panic. And
Yeah.
now you're trying, and once you start trying, TRY, to ruin yourself,
Yeah.
it's over. And it's a ping pong match of energy. I'm sending it, you're sending it, it's back and forth. And then eventually, I'm just going to keep relentlessly sending it. And then I'm going to ram it down your throat. And that's when everything changes. And it's glorious when you're on the winning side. But the other side, it's debilitating.
Yeah.
It'll spread through
Oh, man.
everybody on your team, and you're out. It's that quick. And the fans pick it up
Yeah.
too. They're like, oh my gosh, here we go again.
Yeah.
It's how the Cubs used to be before they won a World Series.
Yeah.
You can feel that energy shift. Oh no, here we
It
go.
So speaking of what you just said, because there's another moment, and I learned the same thing from that moment. So it was my first year in Detroit. We start the season off. We're 2-1. We have just beaten the Dallas Cowboys, reigning Super Bowl champions, Monday Night Football in Dallas. It puts us at 2-1. So we're the cock of the walk. Like we're in the zone, man. Like and I kid you not, the next week. So the next two games we play are the New England Patriots, who haven't won a game, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who haven't won a game. So we got New England at home. We go to Tampa. Both these teams are garbage. They're not good at that time. And I remember running onto the field. So we played New England first, running onto the field for the first play of the game. And I'm out there and I'm like, man, this is a good job. This is so much fun. Like we're gonna kill these guys, right? And we lost. And I'm like, oh man, how did we lose it? Like, and it was like we just found a way to lose. Like you could sense when you talk about the zone just coming back on us. Now that was Bill Parcells, and that was Drew Bledsoe, and that was 1994. 2 years later, they're in the Super Bowl, but it was kind of around that time that they really started to turn things around in New England, and we felt like we'd arrived. We were not locked into, the moment. We were and we got complacent. And the zone, you could feel it just come right back on top of us.
Let's break that down.
Let me just finish because it gets worse. The next week we go to Tampa, who's horrible, and Tampa beats us. They have 3 punt returns for touchdowns in the game.
Oh,
NFL record. And it's like, how do you like, we can't compete with 21 points from special team. Like, you can't win games if you're going to give up 21 points. And like they never heard of this. Like, so we found the most unusual and bizarre way to lose games. And to me, it was just like, wow, you have to have so much reverence and respect for this. And you just cannot treat it lightly, because it, like you said, it will turn on you in a moment, and it is ugly when it turns.
let's break that down. How does that happen? This goes back to why it's hard to win back to back in anything.
Yeah.
And you win a big tournament in tennis, you miss, you're losing the first round the next week. Why is that? Last night, I had an NBA player that I'm coaching come off the bench and drop 33 points on the opposition, 20 points in the second half. He was zoned out big time. And I delivered after the game the message that all my clients love, but they hate. They love it because I'm only doing it because you were awesome. And the message is real simple. You're only as great as the game after greatness. Get back in the trench, get back in the process, and just hit your standard. But when we ball out in big moments, we want to ball out again and again. But that's not what got you to zone out. What got you to zone out was just hitting a high standard. Discipline, high standard of focus, confidence, calm, and passion for meeting the challenge of the sport at that time. So greatness is hitting a high standard over a long period of time. And most of us, and I've had tennis players coaching on the tour, I said, let's go over the game. They go, no, I got it. I own this guy. And I'm like, okay, but he might not be the same guy. You played him 2 months ago. He might be a different guy now. I don't know. Let's get ready. No, I got it. Anyway, we lose to the guy. And that's what happens. Always reach a high minimum standard that's according to you, no one else, every single time you tee it up, every single time you have a match in tennis or suit up on the field in football. The high standard is the key.
So it's a great comment, and because I think about like Dan Marino, and who did things in the NFL like nobody was doing at his time. Like he'd throw for 100,000 yards today in today's NFL, and he was doing that back when people just weren't throwing for that many yards and what have you. And he made 2 comments to me, really, and they were about the only comments he ever made. And he still, to this day, if you listen to him or you talk to him, he goes, the thing that mattered to me was that I showed up every week, and that I was consistently performing week in and week out. He goes, and I just did that for 17 years. And that was what his focus was on. It was that standard. It was just, I'm going to play at a certain level every week. And then the other thing he focused on was, he just goes, if I ever feel out of like balance, or I ever feel like I'm out of, my rhythm or whatever, he goes, I just constantly focus on the basic fundamentals of my position. And he goes, so it was just, it was literally, he just kept it really simple in his head, just the fundamentals and that minimum standard. And he lived by it for 17 years. And he was like head and shoulders above, really anyone in that era. And I think most people, if you talk to them, will say that guy was the best thrower of the football ever, of anyone. And it wasn't anything like magical, special. It was exactly what you're talking about. This whole thing about the minimum standard, and he just never let anything intrude. It was just that level of consistency was just unbelievably impressive.
That's how Frank Thomas, I coached Frank his whole career. Frank Thomas was so great. Arguably the best hitter in a 10-year frame in the steroid era. He was not juicing up like everybody else. But he got into the first ballot Hall of Fame by just reaching that high standard. And it was always next,
Yeah.
Next, when you're aware of being in the zone, it's such a glorious feeling, a purposeful calm. Nothing can go wrong. But when you're aware of being in it, you're not in it anymore.
Right.
And that's the scary part.
Uh,
And so next needs to be the battle cry of the weekend warrior and every golfer in the Masters this week. Next, let it go. You're only as great in the Masters on what you think and do within 5 seconds of your last shot. You miss you have an errant shot off the tee on the first hole. You got to let it go. You cannot judge it. You can't give yourself a lesson. You got to fire the coach in you. That's not easy because you've been coaching yourself on the range. I need this, I need that. But when you're playing, that's got to go away. And all your energy is to a well-defined target down the fairway. Next is the battle cry.
this conversation we're having, to me, is why I love sports. Why I love to watch it. It's why I love to watch the Masters. It's why I love to watch all of it, because it's watching these athletes manage the space between their heads and how they react to what goes on around them. And every, you'll talk to anyone, and there's no perfect game, there's no perfect scenario. Things are coming at you every single play, every single shot, every single situation different. Like, it's not the same. And it's how people respond and how they handle all of those, as you talk about these you perform pro play, and how do you handle that performance, and what do you do next? And it's so riveting and compelling to me to see how people do that. And that to me, breaking down sports, why I love to watch it, why I'm so intrigued by it, and why I love the Masters for this very reason is just it's such a test. And to see, like, who's just got the grit and they handle it, and they perform and execute and at an extremely high level. It's beautiful. It's artistry. It's really a masterful performance that's very much worth watching.
Yeah. Are you a world-class decision maker? And that's why Mendoza would be at the top of the draft, because the scouts believe that he has the physical capabilities. The game's going to speed up, obviously, college to although they played a pro-type offense and everything. But when you look at him, you go, that's a world-class decision maker. And that's something, as parents, we're making too many decisions for our children. You got to let them make decisions. You got to let them fail so they can figure out what to do. Your son, daughter is only as good as what they think when you're not there. So when they get to the pros, they've been a decision maker for a long time. Now, when the headset goes out, what's the big deal? I'll just adjust, adapt, make a decision. I'm used to it. But we're training our kids to not be decision makers, because we want to do everything for them. 4 o'clock, you're doing this. I'm coaching some ice skaters. I'm coaching some different, and the parents are not allowing us to groom young athletes to be world-class decision makers. And we're seeing it. We're seeing it 14, 15, 16. We're coaching these young, student athletes. Decision makers? No, it's gotten worse in the last 5 years. It hasn't improved. You would think that it would. But I think that's, as parents and as coaches, train whoever is on our team to be world-class decision makers. Tell you what time to go to bed, why you're going to bed early, why you need extra sleep, so you can make the decision. Self-discipline is the only form of discipline. Self-discipline.
Right.
And we don't do that. This is how we are. I'm your dad, and this is how we're going to do it. And I think that's a mistake.
Well, I think of my life, right? You talk about this, world-class decision making, and you're talking about the draft, and so when I got drafted, it did not turn out the way I expected. Like, I was drafted in the 4th round. really was told that I would be late first round, no later in the second round. They go, you will not last past the second round, and it didn't happen. And I was, I was devastated because of where I went in the draft and to the team I went to. It's like, shoot, I'm never going to play. I'm behind Dan Marino. Like,
Were you devastated in real time? Right, in real time, as you're watching the draft and you're seeing what's going on, and your names got called. How bad did you feel?
So, well, the draft was different then, and so it was. They did a lot of the draft. I was on the first day, but it was the fourth round, so it just went a lot faster. The TV didn't occupy so much of the time, but it had just gone off of television before I got drafted, and my parents had this big party, and I had teams calling me, as the round, like first round, I had 4 or 5 teams calling me kind of at that time where I thought I would get drafted, and then I just didn't, and just like, wow, okay. But
Did this cause you to try harder once you did get drafted?
Well, no,
Force the action out?
Actually, no. It was about these world-class decisions, right? And so what happened was every pick just was like a dagger, it was just like to the point where I left the party, I went home, I was in my apartment, I was laying on my couch, just going, dumbest decision I've ever made, because I still had a year of eligibility. I've made the worst decision of my life. I decided to go into the draft early, did not work out well. My life is over. Like, I mean, because at that point I still haven't been drafted. I was like, I don't even know if I'm even going to get drafted. The phone finally rang, and it's Don Shula, like of all people, to call. And you'd think, wow, I get, this Coach Shula, this is awesome. And I was like, great, and I was surly on the phone. I was not happy about it. So I get drafted, and I could have, like you said, I could have just thrown in the towel, or I could have just whatever. And I just said, hey, and no one forced me to do this. My parents, they didn't tell me what to do. My coaches did, it was a decision I made on my own. And the decision was, this is your opportunity. This is it. Like, this is, there's no do-overs. There's no reset button, on the Nintendo Xbox where you start the game over. This is real life. And this is your shot in the NFL. And so I just said, well, how am I going to handle that? And I go, I'm going to the Miami Dolphins to be the starting quarterback. And that's what I put in my head. And so you talk about seeing the end from the beginning. That's what I did. And I just said, all right, what if that's the case, what do I do today? And I moved everything I owned to Florida. It was before training camp started. I rented a condo for 2 years. Signed a 2-year lease. I hadn't even gone to training camp. I didn't even know if I was going to make the team, but I knew I was going to make the team because that's just the mindset I went with. And everything I did from that point on was, this is what the starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins would do. And I would have never made it. I never would have made that first year. I don't think I'd ever made it over the disappointment of the draft had I not had that mindset. But it was that championship mindset that, it was in the worst moment, I think, of my really playing career. I had the perfect response, and it was the decision I made on my very own.
Scott, I think it's true in every sport. The toughest challenge is when your expectations don't meet reality.
Yeah.
And that happens every day.
Yeah.
And how you handle that, how you deal with that, really dictates how far you're going to go. Sometimes it's not about technical talent or physical talent. For the most part, what I've seen, it's how you've been thinking, how you've adjusted your thinking, because the game definitely is, going to college to pro, it picks up. The speed is palpable. It's noticeable. And you can, holy crap, that guy's huge, and I can't believe he can run, whatever the 40 is, and he's hunting you down from behind. And it's that energy can back up. It permeates. It goes into the jaw, and it impacts your touch. impacts your feel, and it can wreak havoc on you. But if you own it and can get that energy shifted away from you to well-defined small goals, you're going to be all right. But the first thing you need to do is, what is my minimum requirement for a solid performance every day? You got to hit that minimum, because to play in a team sport, one word has to shout from your game: he's reliable. He's reliable. I put him in. He's off the bench, but I know what I'm going to get. Put him in. He's reliable. And I think when you don't have that reliable vibe to your coach, well, you'll get less minutes, you'll get less reps, and that's on you.
I want to talk about the draft now, since we've kind of gone into it. So Fernando Mendoza is not going to the draft, which is a little bit unprecedented at this point. I'm curious how you feel about that, because so many players are about, the pomp and circumstance and the attention and the stroking of your ego kind of thing. It's a big moment to be that first player. You get kind of the awkward hug from the commissioner. You take a picture with the jersey. You got the really ridiculously looking hat on in a suit. It just, nothing about it works, but it's something I think everyone ascribes to. And Fernando Mendoza says, "Nah, I want to spend the time," and he's going to be the first pick of the draft, with my family, with the people that, good move, bad move, thoughts on not going to the draft, if you're the number one dude.
I think it's a good move. I think he could have done either one and it would have been all right. What it does, it just takes the big deal off of his shoulders, and he's not there. He's going to be with his family. He needs to get to Vegas, which is, another paradigm shift in his life, to be in Vegas, where, with the Raiders. He's got Kirk Cousins there, which is a positive. They can give some stability, but I think it just takes all the pressure, a little bit of the pressure off of him. Okay, now be drafted and go get into the NFL at your pace to hit a standard. I don't think it's a negative thing. He's a very family-oriented guy. He wants to be with his family, but I think it's more than that. I think you don't want to get in there that you're the next, you're the next Marino. You're the new greatest quarterback ever. Come on, we've seen so many young kids choke on that, and they weren't ready for that. Yeah. And I think they're trying to avoid that kind of pressure.
See, this draft and this pick to me is really fascinating, because you talk about a reliable player, you talk about a world-class decision maker. Those are like internal traits, right? Those are like, those are like, man, that guy has a heart. That guy he has it. He's just, it's and it's not a physical measurable, right? Well, can he throw it really far? Can he jump really high? Because the draft really so much is more about the physical attributes of a player. And yet so many players prove that, man, it's your heart, it's your decision-making ability. I mean, really playing quarterback is about making world-class decisions. Like you have, and when I say world-class, it's because you got to make them quick, and you got to and it has to be decisive and precise, and it has to be, with a lot of stuff coming at you. That, that's not easy to do, but that's the job requirement, making those decisions. And so can you actually measure heart? Because they never seem to try to measure it, or maybe they do, but how can you look at a player and evaluate and go, that guy has it, as opposed to we physically can, because we see the physical side of it. It's right in front of us, but do we really see the inside?
Our company can measure that. We're one of the only companies in the world that can measure the heart of an entire team, or just one particular player. We do this with our analytics. If you go to zonecoach.com, take the free analytics, and you're going to get a report that's going to hit you right between the eyes. So if you don't want to hear the truth, don't take it. But it'll tell you the truth if you're brutally honest. But yes, we can measure that. Typically, you're going to find out that you don't have enough relaxation, you don't have enough passion for the challenge. You got to enjoy the challenge. You're going to be challenged, so you got to enjoy it. Even an injury, you got to enjoy the challenge of getting back on the field from an injury. Not everybody can do that. But the one thing Mendoza has done, and all great quarterbacks, in those moments of truth, third down, 3rd and 9, we're down in the red zone, on the 20 or 19. Mendoza, I believe, in observing him, his breathing per minute doesn't rise in those moments of truth. And that helps him have clarity. So if I can keep my breathing under 10 breaths a minute, the average guy's got 17, 15. And when you get a little under pressure, it could get into 19, 20, 21. That's when you'll lose feeling, lose touch. You'll have an easy screen pass and you'll throw it over the guy's head or into the turf. It's like, how'd you do that? So controlling your breathing is something Mendoza, I think, will excel at. That way the game won't speed up on you. You're in control of that.
So another player, Diego Pava, was probably a second, third day guy, quarterback, not having an agent. It's like I'm not having an agent. I'm not giving my 3% of my salary to an agent. I'm on my own. There have been a few players that have done that, and it's to each their own. But he kind of has a chip on his shoulder right now. Carson Beck is another player who a lot of people doubting. Kind of, so he's walking around with a chip on his shoulder. How long can you do that? Is having kind of the me against the world, I'm mad at the world, this negative, I'm mad, right. Is that sustainable? Is
No.
that something you can have throughout your whole career and time?
No.
And is it something that you want to do, I guess?
The answer is no. I mean, that kind of mindset is going to be a roller coaster mindset. You're going to have some great highs, great lows. That discipline mindset needs to be stable, and it needs to be forefront, a big deal. Now, that roller coaster mindset over a long season, baseball, 162 games, come on, it's not going to happen. So you need that steady, high standard over a long period of time, like you were talking about Marino. But young kids need to learn this. A kid zones out, and now the dad and mom are like, do it again. And they go, well, that's not how that works. That's not how it works. You have to know exactly what is my standard and what are my thoughts pre-game. And am I prepared to make an adjustment? The best are prepared, but the elite of those best are prepared to adapt and adjust swiftly. That's different. I believe Mendoza has that ability to make in-game adjustments, even changing his own behavior. And that's something where you realize, I got to pick it up. Why am I defensive? I'm on the offense. I'm going to shove it down their throat. It's a different focus. It's a second vision, isolated focus. And you need to be able to adjust and find that in real time under pressure.
Speaking of baseball, one of the things that is so fascinating with me with baseball is it's so long, right? The season's so long,
Brutal.
and so how do you win the early part of the season in baseball? Like, what metrics, what things do you have to be doing right now that will help you in the postseason and towards the end of the season to have a successful year?
Well, spring training gets you somewhat prepared, but it's different once the game really starts and it counts. You know, that's a great question. I think from pitchers early, this will all be for the whole season. I got to throw first pitch strikes. Leadoff hitters should never get on base. They're at a disadvantage anyway. Guy runs in from the outfield and he's getting his batting glove and he's not mentally locked in, seeing the ball well. The pitcher's already had 8 warm-up pitches. So the leadoff hitter should sit down every time because the pitcher has a crazy advantage. If pitching's locked in early, hitters are in trouble. The key with hitters is, can you get into a second vision where you can slow the ball down? I call it second vision. You know, right now, somebody watching this on YouTube, they're watching it in first vision. They're not looking at you in the eye to discern your eye color. But in baseball, I got to lock in an isolated second vision. And I've been walking around all day in that primary see everything vision. That's a tunnel vision. That takes time to hone that. And so pitchers, to me, have the advantage. Go look at the batting averages right now. There are a few guys that are hitting 380, but most of them are hitting a $140, $180. They're just not getting the feel because the pitcher has the advantage and the hitters haven't had enough reps in a row to slow it down. They don't get that game after game after game in spring training because they're trying to give other guys a chance to see, you know, who's going to make the team and how good they are. The stars aren't playing that much in spring. So we'll see. About this time, though, the stars should be hitting their stride.
Starting to, yeah.
After 2 weeks.
What can you win championships with hitting, or do you have to just be a dominant pitching team? Which one wins, or do both win, hitting or pitching?
Pitching.
No question. It's always pitching.
Pitching. Yeah. The hardest thing to do in professional sports, I coached 22 professional sports, didn't know there were that many, but there are. The hardest thing is hitting a round ball with a round bat. And the bat's lacquered, which makes it easier to fly ball than to hit solid. Our goal, my goal for all the hitters I've coached, I hit solid with an accelerated bat head. Now, that doesn't always get you a hit, but if I can hit solid and give myself more time to hit solid to give the defense less time, I'm going to get on base more times than not. That's the art form, is to hit the ball solid with an accelerated bat head. And I've said that 10,000 times to an Alex Rodriguez. Every day in his career, I hit solid. Frank Thomas, I hit solid. Everybody I'm working with now, the essence of the craft. Is it easy? No, that's why we do it every day.
Yeah. Okay, a couple questions before I let you go. They're the burning questions of the week. Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes opened up a high-end steakhouse. 1587, I believe, is the name. It got some kind of tough reviews, but it's been fairly well received. Very nice, very fancy. And I find this kind of, is it an oxymoron? Because Patrick Mahomes actually puts ketchup on his steak. And I'm not a person, I think, if you're going to go to a fine steakhouse, are you putting ketchup on your steak? So the question is, Bill, Jim, do you put ketchup on your steak?
I'm from Chicago. We don't put ketchup on a hot dog. No, it's not going to happen. It's never going to happen.
Yeah.
So I don't understand that. Obviously, I don't know why he wouldn't have good steak. I know his dad, Pat. So,
yeah,
you know, it's not like he grew up poor or anything. So,
right.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of athletes do the steak. First of all, Kansas City.
Yeah.
If you're going to compete, I mean, you could have picked a place that would have been a little bit easier to compete in this steak business. I mean, Chicago, you don't want to do it. And Kansas City, I don't think you want to do it. And I'm not sure you want to do it in Dallas. You know, there's a few places where the steak competition is pretty high, but they got a name. But if the steak's not good enough, they're not coming back. I'll give them one shot and then I'll make a decision. So their name doesn't mean anything. The steak means everything.
Of course,
no
it is. Yeah.
No ketchup.
So, and I don't think they put the ketchup on the steak, but he's been notoriously known for putting ketchup on steak. It's like, yeah, I don't know if that's the thing I'd go into. What is your favorite cut of steak? What do you love?
Yeah, I'm a filet mignon guy.
Yeah.
I like a good filet, medium rare. Uh, yeah, yeah, I'll take a filet. I know sirloin or uh, a big Tommy Hawk cut.
Yeah.
But these days I'll take a 4 ounce filet and I'm good to
And you're
go.
good to go.
Yeah.
What is the most you would you spend on an excellent meal? Like, are you into fine dining? And like, how fine is your fine dining?
I dine.
Ah, good.
I'm a diner. I dine when I eat a bologna sandwich.
Oh,
I've trained myself to. I realize that when you're eating alone, especially, the tendency is to eat fast because you're thinking about a lot of stuff.
yeah.
Then once you eat fast, then that's how you're going to gain weight because you overeat before your body goes, stop doing this. You need to
Yeah.
stop. So I put my fork down between. I dine, and I thought the king dines, everybody else eats. I'm going to dine, and I wanted to do that because I didn't know how to do that. I'm from Appalachia, dirt floor, outhouse, no electricity. I never went to a restaurant until I was like 16. I didn't know, I think my first one was the McDonald's when it opened up. And I'm like,
Oh.
that was awesome. But yeah, I like to fine dine. I like good food, but now the prices they're almost prohibitive. You can do it just as soon at your house if you know how to do it.
So $100, $500, where's your limit?
If you and I went out and we were going to fine dine, I could see us dropping easy 200, easy.
Okay.
250 maybe if you throw in a bottle of wine, then yeah, we're probably 300. But that's not a steady diet of that. And
Yeah.
we would celebrate while we were there and enjoy the moment, which makes it more valuable.
Yeah. So your record, how many pimento cheese sandwiches?
This is embarrassing. I had to eat 12 one day.
Wow.
It's horrible. And I had 12 pimento cheeses. I walked probably 36 holes with a couple of guys, and I just and they're really little, and they're just pink. They're almost like hors d'oeuvres. And I ate 12 pimento cheese sandwiches.
And that's 12 for $18. That's like,
That's my master's record.
Love it. All right, Jim, go have a great day. So awesome to talk to you. I really appreciate it.
Go to Zone Coach, everybody. Take the assessment. You'll see what the missing link of you getting into the zone. And Scott, it's always great to get down and dirty with you.
Love it. All right. Have a great day. Hey, more to come here on the Down and Dirty when we return. Do not go away.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated with style and durability. You can trust Tervis tumblers to keep your drinks the perfect temperature, hot or cold, for hours. From the classic insulated tumblers to sleek stainless steel water bottles, each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Hey, sports fans, welcome back. It's the Down and Dirty. Scott Mitchell. So glad you could be a part of our show. As always, it's a fun day. It's the start of the Masters. Always an exciting time for me. I am a very, very passionate fan as it relates to the Masters. It's always enjoyable to watch and to see. It'll be fascinating to see who's going to win it. I just feel like Bryson DeChambeau is going to do it this year. Don't ask me why. It's just a gut feeling. All right, some rather interesting headlines of the day. We have hot headlines. We do the hot headlines. We like to cover things that move our needle, not necessarily the needle, but they move our needle, and they tend to be the hot headlines of the day. Things that we like to find a unique perspective on. So, without any further ado, here is the hot headlines of the day. Gary Player, Jack Nicklaus, and Tom Watson, of course. They were the honorary starters at the Masters. Now, I have mixed feelings about kind of being the starter at the Masters. It's clearly you are recognized as and these are people, of course, that have a connection to the Masters, so they have to win the Masters, to kind of be a part of this. But they also are really old. They're not playing anymore. And the next kind of moment in their career is usually they're dead. So it's like I don't know how I feel about it. I really don't, because it's like, I mean, this is a tremendous honor, and of course, these guys, they're not going to play anymore, and I'm sure they feel the same way. I'm sure they're like, hey, I have nothing else of significance, but it's great that I'm being recognized like this, and I'll do it as long as I possibly can, kind of thing. So I'm sure they look at the positive side of it, but it's certainly a signal. These guys, as great as they were, and I watched all of them play, Nicholas, Watson, and Player, and you appreciated their game, but they, their game now is just, shaking hands and kissing babies kind of thing. And so I'm sure there's part of it. It's tough. I'm sure it's part of, I deal with that every day, my mortality, and that you get closer to the end than the beginning, and things look different to you. And, we go through our midlife crisis, all that stuff. But it's kind of one of those, I guess, just there's kind of this duplicity to how you feel about some of these certain honors. And when I see this, that's what goes through my mind. Great honor, but these guys are not too far from out the door. And I don't want to sound cold-hearted, but it's kind of how it is. All right. Speaking of, I don't want to say cold-hearted, Gary Player, one of the honorary starters, actually had some thoughts about Tiger. And of course, Tiger absent from the Masters. And Gary says, maybe it's just kind of time that Tiger Woods just doesn't drive anymore. And I kind of have the same feeling. I'm like, why? What is it about? There's just some people that they just shouldn't drive. And Tiger's one of those people where it's like, why does he drive? Like he clearly can afford to have someone drive him, and it certainly would make a whole lot more sense. And it would also make a whole lot more responsibility, because it's not just Tiger. He's on a public road, and he's unbelievably fortunate that these accidents that he's been in that are horrific have only been basically involving himself. And it is irresponsible. And you have to wonder if he's just like in total denial. You have to wonder if he is in this, world-class athlete mindset of, I can do anything. I can drive. I can be impaired and drive like the best of them. And maybe there's this sense of, I don't think I'm impaired. I don't, the whole denial side of it is like, no, if I admit to having a driver, then it's saying I'm admitting that there is an issue. And really it should be more of, hey, I've had these injuries and I've had these surgeries, and because of it, I'm managing the pain of whatever's going on. And to be responsible, it wouldn't be safe for me to drive, which which clearly it's not. So, it's Uber is probably one of the best things that could happen in our society for people to not drink and drive, or to be impaired and drive, whatever it is. So, it's probably a good idea that Tiger, gets out there and decides that, hey, I'm going to be responsible here. And now the flip side of it is, if Tiger did get a driver, he had someone that says, "Look, let me drive you around." Then is he really gonna address the issue? And maybe it's a band-aid. Sure, it's a nice protection for all of us, but ultimately what's the protection is that Tiger gets better and that he can manage this situation. And so, maybe flipping your vehicle over for the, I don't know how many times, might be the indication. Yeah, you probably should get something done. So, anyways, we'll see what happens there. All the best to Tiger. Extremely disappointing. He's not at the Masters. He should be at the Masters. If anything should motivate you, it certainly should be that. So we'll see if that's the case with Tiger. Who knows? Don't know. But we'll see. We will see for sure. Okay. The other thing happening in the world is that there's a lot of things. Sorry, I kind of got lost here. So Bryson DeChambeau, who I think is going to win the Masters this year, he actually on a 3D printer forged a 5-iron, I believe, and which is so beyond me, right? And I mean, these 3D printers, fascinating technology. It scared the heck out of me to say, is it reliable? Does it really work? How is it gimmicky? Is it all of these things? And it's about his equipment, and he's always tinkering with his game. His game is somewhat unorthodox to people, but what it's not is, it makes sense to him in his head. Like, he's been able to, like, take his game and kind of figure it out for himself, and where he's comfortable and he's confident in what he's doing. And I've thought about this in my own career as an athlete, and how at various times in various places where I guess I did my own scientific research. And I think of, actually, when I was young and I was a baseball pitcher, and I could not throw strikes, not because I couldn't throw them, but because the batter standing in the batter's box freaked me out. And I was like, oh man, the guy's standing there and I'm going to hit him. And the reality is I did. Like, so if I was accurate enough to hit the batter, I should be accurate enough to hit the catcher's mitt. And my focus was always on the hitter. And so I actually went out in my backyard, and I created a scenario where I was throwing to what simulated a real hitter. We had this brick shed, and it was painted white. And I took, like, black chalk, and I drew a catcher's mitt, and then I drew my version of a human being it was like a stick figure of a human being standing in the batter's box. And the crazy thing about it, I'm left-handed, and it was a right-handed hitter that just freaked me out. And it just, for whatever reason, was just really hard for me to get used to. And so I'd sit for hours and just throw a baseball at this brick shed, to the point I just wore the bricks out, the mortar, and this thing was just kind of falling apart. But in my mind, it was my way of kind of tinkering with things, to where I gained confidence in what I was doing. And then at a later point, when I was in high school, and I was hitting, and I was trying to find my pitch. And so so you'd stand in there, and you'd have live batting practice, and you'd see different pitches, off speed pitches, fastballs, just the movement of the baseball. And I was trying to decide where my sweet spot was, so when I go to bat, I figured that at some point I'm going to get my pitch, and I'm going to wait until I get that pitch. And I just believed in high school that the pitchers, and I didn't tell anyone what it was. I don't know how much team scouted, but when I figured it out, pretty much every time I came to bat, I got my pitch. Now there were ways I adjusted when I played, depending on the team, and sometimes you might adjust it, but pretty much for the duration, I was looking for my pitch, but I didn't know what my pitch was. So I got a pitching machine, and I put the location of the pitching machine at different places on the plate. So it was kind of an inside fastball was really what was my sweet spot. And so I just grooved the pitching machine to just hit that. And so I would just see that pitch over and over and over, but I saw it. I did it off of the mound, not in a batting cage, because I wanted to see it like in the ballpark I was in, so that I would recognize it when I saw it, and I would realize this is my pitch. And I spent most of my time hitting and prepping with a pitching machine, not off a live pitcher, because you just didn't get the consistent look you wanted, to a point where I go, that's my pitch. I recognize it and I know it. And of course, throughout my professional career, similar types of things where, I used equipment, I use targets and ways to simulate kind of what happened in a game. And so much of it was your visual cues when you had to throw the football, and how to train your mind to hit all these different cues. And we used equipment, we used technology, and it was very, for me at the time, very, I would say, probably prehistoric to what they can do, because you can get visual glasses now and you can do all this stuff through like, visual reality that's just insane. So, but it's just I just find Bryson DeChambeau fascinating. I find that his constant trying to figure out his game and how it works is just, to me, just such a fascinating thing. Okay, moving on. Diego Pavia is he doesn't have an agent, and it again, it's like, I don't know that I'm here to say, well, that's a dumb move or that's a smart move. I just think it's a move. And when you're kind of in this situation, I've brought it up several times this week, like the NFL, like, this is your time, and you have to kind of go to the beat of your drum, and you have to say, these are the things that work for me. This is how I'm going to do my career. If I'm Jerry Rice, I'm going to practice a certain way. I'm going to train a certain way of, all these different, it doesn't matter. What matters is that the things that you do they get your mind quiet so that you can perform at your highest level? I mean, just had a conversation with Bill, I don't know why I'm going to call him Bill, but Jim Fannin, about this very thing. So Diego Pavia is he's an interesting guy. He's been kind of boisterous about the Heisman, and just, and he's kind of out there. He's a little bit unorthodox in some of the things. And, John Gruden had a conversation with Diego just about the anger that he has, or the lack of respect, and how it fuels him on to be what he is. And I think, and his whole point about the agent thing is like, look, I just don't want to pay the money to an agent. And I think you're okay to not have an agent, because I felt the same way. Like, why am I paying this? And there's a side of you go, well, everyone just has an agent. That's just what you do. And you have an agent. And if you're Fernando Mendoza, okay, you're the first pick in the draft. If you're a first round draft choice, do you need an agent? I say you don't. I really say you don't. And of course, my agent will kill me for saying this, and the reason is because it's already determined what you're going to get. Like, all the salaries are slotted. It's not a surprise. Everyone kind of knows. Now, later on, it's a different deal. If you're a free agent, you're going in, day 2 or day 3, then it's a negotiation, and you better know your stuff. And so you got to understand the market. You got to understand the team you're dealing with. I mean, there is a lot that goes into the art of negotiation. And I just have always been a person who feels like, um, yeah, I would rather have someone that I trust who can kind of represent me and have those tough conversations. Because remember, it's negotiation. So they're going, yeah, Diego, yeah, a little small, little this, little that. And they're going to ding you, not because they want to ding you, because they want to sign you. They just want to sign you at the right price. And a lot of it can even be, we'll only sign you at the right price. If the wrong price happens, we have other options. Every team always has other options. And again, that's part of the negotiation. Where you have leverage is when the team goes, we have to have you. There's nobody else we want. There's no other option available. We're down to. That's when you're going to get the best deal available. And so, if let's just say, I'm a firm believer that if you're a player that's going to go in the later rounds, you're better off being a free agent, because then you can really dictate the terms of where you go. Then you can get really selective, because so much of your success is depending upon going into the right situation. And if you're drafted, you could be drafted in totally wrong situation, and then you got to start fresh. So having that flexibility of signing in the best possible location, to me, is so much better than a little bit of a signing bonus you're going to get in that later round. And a lot of guys have parlayed this into very, very successful careers. And so, yeah, maybe you need, and in that situation, is it, you absolutely need an agent. But if it's slotted where you can go, what do you need an agent for? And the reality is, let's just say Fernando Mendoza signs his deal. It's going to be a slight higher percentage than last year's. It fits a narrative. It's not complicated to figure out. A lot. If you're not signing a first round draft choice, you're an idiot as an organization, which the Cincinnati Bengals kind of do. But if you're not, an idiot, then it's pretty cut and dried. It's not hard, right? Now, when you re-sign, so let's say Fernando Mendoza goes through and does his whole deal, and now he re-signs, similar type of thing. It's not a like rocket science at that point either, because you're gonna go, okay, here's comparables, here's kind of the market. You're going to get some kind of bump in the market, and off you go. Not overly complicated. Lamar Jackson did it. It was weird for him. I don't know how well it went for him, but and if you sign I don't know, $150 million, let's just say $100 million deal, and 3% of that, it's a lot of money. It's in the millions of dollars. So I could see this happening. But it's more of the exception as opposed to the rule. Okay, Matt Nagy, offensive coordinator for the New York Football Giants, said, "Man, this Jackson Dart kid is different. He's a different dude. He is just a different dude." And of course, you look at the photo there of Jackson Dart, and it's like he even looks different in his. It's like I just okay. He's got a necklace on. He's got the eye black, which goes over through his eye, up into his eyebrow, and into his forehead, which you put your helmet on, and all that does is run. Like, it's just going to run right down into your eye. And so you kind of go, like, I like I'm my own guy. I'm an original. I'm unique. And it's almost like you're trying too hard to be unique. And so when you do that, the question is there authenticity into who you are? Or are you just some kind of clown show? I mean, really? And all this stuff, does it matter if you suck and you're not any good? No, it's like you're a clown show. You're trying to compensate or hide something, type of thing. You're trying too hard. Like that kind of is the thing to me that typically I would look at this and go, yeah. And it kind of plays into how you play as well. And so Jackson Dart is a guy that's like reckless when he runs. And he goes, I don't care. And it's like, but we all care. And we all care because it's just going to catch up to you. And you don't want to spend your time, your career injured. You just don't. So there's a side of it that just goes, oh man, maybe drop some of the things. Now, Matt Nagy said this kid's different. And I'm going to go on the defensive of Jackson Dart because I watched him. At a time that he would never know that I was watching. It was a junior day at the Utah State University, and my son was participating in the junior day, and so was Jackson Dart. And I had an opportunity to observe this junior day. It was actually a joint junior day between the University of Washington when Chris Peterson was there, Utah State when Gary Anderson was there. So I'm watching everything going on, and there's this kid, and he just jumps off the plate at you. And I'm watching him just going, who is this kid? He had to be the first one in the drill. He was he was just very clearly saying, I'm the guy. In his demeanor, the way through the football, the way he approached the drills, the way he approached the whole thing, he was just like, I am on showcase here. I'm letting it all hang out. I am the guy. And at the time, I think he was at his original high school in Utah, where he transferred to a different high school, which actually has some national prominence. Zach Wilson went there. There was a quarterback that went to Ohio State. Jackson Dart ends up at USC. And that was the other thing that would just really jumped off the table at me. Is like, this kid goes, man, I'm going places. And you could see it. And when you say he was different, he was absolutely bent on the brass ring and going for it. And for that, I've always been a big fan. I really have. I really hope he does tremendously well with the Giants. He's in, this massive media market. He's going for it, but I just wonder if, maybe it's just a little too hard, and maybe he's just trying a little too hard, but he definitely is a different dude. All right. We're going to take a break. We come back. We're going to play a little Masters edition of Would You Rather. So can't wait for that. Stick around. The Down and Dirty. We'll be right back.
For 75 years, Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. No gimmicks, just durable, well-designed bottles built to last. Join us in our mission to amplify life, not complicate it. Because at Nalgene, what goes into our bottles matters as much as the adventures they fuel. Explore more at nalgene.com. That's NALGENE.com.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone, and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Welcome to Kitbag, the ultimate destination for football fans. Whether you're cheering for Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United, or any other top club, we've got your team's colors running through our veins. From official replica kits to custom player prints of your favorite stars like Ronaldo, Messi, and Kane, Kitbag is your one-stop shop for all things football. Powered by Fanatics, we deliver to over 180 countries, ensuring you get the gear you need fast. For true football passion, think Kitbag. Visit kitbag.com today. That's kitbag.com. Kitbag.
Farmhound's approach is a little different than a traditional treat company. We get to work with local farmers who are putting everything they can into regenerative farming. From the soil to the animals to the ecosystem. They care about how animals are raised and how we treat the earth. It's not just product, but it's part of that story. It's connected to just a whole lot more.
Welcome back, Down and Dirty. Scott Mitchell here. I've got my cohort in crime, the master of masterful games, Martin Kelly, is joining us now. Still hasn't shaved that beard of his, but you know, these kids these days, gosh darn it. He's got a Would You Rather Masters Edition. Play at home, get a gold star. Let's see what we got. Take it away, Martin. Give us that Would You Rather Masters Edition, please.
Yeah, why not? Let's have some fun with the greatest golf tournament in the entire world. Let's start with this one, Scott. Would you rather dominate the tournament if you were playing by a lot, like Tiger Woods when he dominated that 1 year and won it by double digits, or win by a small margin, win by a few shots, and you have that glorious walk to 18?
Well, what I like about this question is regardless, I win, right? And so if as long as I'm winning, I say go big or go home, right? I think people they don't sit there and go, oh, do you remember when he eked out that we barely won that Masters? Or do they go, everyone remembers, excuse me, something that is masterful, right? And when you the most prestigious golf event in the world, and when you can dominate it, I'm all for that. But what I am for is winning, right? And so the most important thing is if you have a chance to win the Masters, you win the Masters. And if it's one shot, if it's sudden death, if it's multiple shots, whatever it is, you win because you're in, and you're in for life. And then you ultimately get to be the ceremonial starter at the end of your life. And so that's what we all ascribe to, is to be the ceremonial starter at the Masters. That's the culmination of a life well spent. But yeah, dominate. That's my deal. All right, next one.
All right, Scott, this is going to be a fun, easy one. You're going to go, this was one of your worst questions, Martin, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Would you rather watch this tournament at home on your couch that Sunday afternoon, or would you rather be at 18 to see the champion?
Okay, this is not a dumb question.
Okay.
It's not a dumb question. I'll tell you why. I think there's nothing better than the back nine on Sunday at the Masters. And to fully really watch that is to watch it at home. So if it's just if it's just a golfer that's going to win who's won it before, and there's a whole bunch of people jockeying for a shot to win it, I think I'd rather watch it at home. I really do. I know it's hard to believe, but I think I'd really do it. Now, if it's someone who's going to win it for the first time, and I don't think it matters who that golfer is whether you like the golfer or you don't like the golfer, or they're your favorite or not your favorite. If it's their first time, I would 100% want to be on the 18th green to watch and witness that, because those moments are so pack-filled with emotion. You think of Phil Mickelson showing us his 3-inch vertical jump when he makes the putt to win his first Masters. When you see Rory and just all the emotion of him winning his first, and you see Tiger when he won his first, and it's their family. I think it's not just the family, but it's the fans who really appreciate the significance of what just happened. You know, the Masters, winning the Masters is different than any other event. It's just different, and it's different because because then you become a part of the fraternity for life, and that's what every golfer wants. I guarantee you, I guarantee you, there's not one golfer in the world who's a professional golfer that says, "Yeah, I don't really care if I win the Masters." Now they might go, "Yeah, okay, if I don't win the PGA, fine. You know, if I don't, you know, but the Masters, they all want to win it for that reason, and it's that reason alone. It's a lifetime membership." And so they're, when it's won for the first time and it's won you know, on the 18th green, I would want to witness and see that live. But if it's just your garden variety Masters, you know, I really would rather watch it at home. It's fun to go to the Masters. It's actually really fun to go to the Masters for all of the practice rounds to leading it. It's insane, the crowds, and you know, the viewership of it is just not that great. You go there for the experience. You go there so you can buy the merchandise. You go there for the sandwiches. You do that stuff. But yeah, it's but to see and witness someone win it for the first time, got to be there.
Speaking of sandwiches, Scott,
Yes.
obviously you've been there before, but if you had to go back and try it one more time, would you want to eat a fermento cheese sandwich the first day or that egg salad sandwich?
So I've never had a fermento, but I've had pimento cheese. But
I think I said it
fermento,
wrong, but you know what I'm talking about. I apologize.
it's all right. I would love to know what a fermento cheese sandwich is. It's maybe a good thing. So pimento cheese, I've had before, right? I've had them, and it freaks me out because I thought pimento cheese was a certain type of cheese, and it's not. So pimento cheese is simply two different types of cheddar. It's like mozzarella and cheddar cheese, or some combination of those two cheese in mayonnaise. And then they put the pimentos, you know, the pimentos in the olives, a little red pimento, and they put that in the cheese. And I didn't know that. And so my feeling of pimentos is now changed, because a cheese sandwich to me actually with mayo sounds kind of good, because I'm a big mayo guy. But there's something about egg salad. I've loved egg salad sandwiches forever. I would actually rather have an egg salad sandwich, but I would like to give pimento cheese sandwiches a second chance.
Okay,
And if I'm at the Masters though, you know what? It's not of would I rather, it's more of I should. Like you're supposed to. So, and I'd probably eat most, but if I had to choose between the two, I'd say you got to have the pimento cheese sandwich at the Masters, because that's just one of those traditions. So I'm going to say pimento cheese.
All right, Scott, let's see how you handle this question. Would you rather see the Masters break a tradition, which is that
Ooh.
the winner gets their green jacket for a year, but then has to return it back to Augusta, or allow the winners to keep their jacket in their possession forever?
See, the thing that makes the Masters great is that in a world that's ever changing, in a world that's losing its tradition, in a world that's just kind of become disposable, where, you know, we just kind of move on to the next thing, holding fast and true to those traditions, time honored, doesn't change. We're not bowing to anyone. You know, there was this thing of, hey, you know, we're going to take all the sponsorships from you. And the Masters goes, fine. We don't care. We'll do our thing without sponsorship. We're like, and so I've always valued and appreciated that mindset 1,000%. And that when they say a tradition unlike any other, it's all of the traditions that are, you know, bundled together that make the tradition of the Masters so memorable, so traditional, so unlike anything else. And that whole idea of, you know, having this green jacket and knowing that the only place you can wear it is at the Masters, but knowing you get to go to the Masters and wear it. It's this delayed gratification thing for me, where it's so much more meaningful. It loses its greatness. Like there's, every other golf course, or you think of some of these other events, and they try to have their winner's jacket, right? And there's in my mind, there's two jackets. There's two jackets that have value. The Masters, the green jacket, and the gold Hall of Fame jacket in the NFL. Like those, that's it. Like those, and they mean something because the privilege of wearing them is so small and so significant, and it's really just what makes it work. So do not let the Masters jacket leave the grounds. Keep it there. Keep that tradition. Do not change the tradition of the Masters.
All right, let's see.
So I guess I'd rather see it at the Masters.
I respect that, honestly. Like, that's a tradition that I think will stand forever with the Masters. I actually love that tradition. I wanted to see how you handle that, and you passed that test. So congratulations on that one. Let's see how you handle this one, though. All right. Would you rather see the Masters branch off and start a senior tournament for the older champions, Gary Player, Jack Nicklaus, or allow them to stay in the field year in and year out at the Masters? At a certain point, I think once you get to a certain age, don't you want to just branch off and have your own tournament?
You actually might have stumbled onto something I think is remarkable here. I think it's one of those things where, because it's always like, well, the old guys kind of take up a space, and having a senior Masters event at Augusta at a different time of year, and maybe it's the week after the match. I don't know when you would have it. I don't know logistically how hard it is. I don't know if they want to do that. I don't know if they feel like it's something that would actually take away from their event. It certainly would be kind of one of those things where there's some guys, who maybe didn't get an opportunity to win in Masters when they played, and now they have a chance as a senior to go back, and maybe it has some, I don't know. I think having a seniors master would be phenomenal for seniors golf. I would love to see that, actually. I really would. I had never in a million years thought of that. That's brilliant. I love it. Yeah. Bring a seniors masters back. Yeah. Let's do it.
I'm down
All
for
right.
it. Let's do it. Yeah. That's all I got for you. Only those
That's
5
it.
simple questions.
Love it.
Congratulations. You get to put a gold star on your forehead and put it on the fridge later.
Gold star on my forehead and a green jacket on my back.
Exactly.
All right, folks. That's all we have for today. Hope you've enjoyed the Down and Dirty. Thank you, Martin, and thank you, Zach. We love all our patrons. Go eat a pimento cheese sandwich, everyone, and watch the Masters today. Have a great day. Thank you for tuning in. This has been the Down and Dirty. Scott Mitchell. Until then, we will see you then.